Oh, yeah.
We have our Zoom ready. Hi there, welcome. Are we on?
No.
Long nails. There you go. So welcome to 2022 Doug Day. Yeah, we have Doug Mock, greeting guest. We have Doug Busby scheduled to do our invocation, and Doug Watkins will be our Sergeant of Arms. And for those of you who think I planned this just so we could have another party day, I didn't. It just happened. Or else Barb Bakos would have cute little favors at each place setting. And let me take a moment to thank Barb, who's usually on Zoom, and she in recent years, very recent years, lost her husband. She has a background in interior design, and so she enjoys making those specially created table favors for us for meetings, and she says it helps fill a void, you know. So we know that when you're sad and grieving, that filling that space with goodness and kindness helps you heal. So we appreciate Barb for that. And she recently lost her father, and she hasn't been able to come to meetings since the pandemic because of her elderly father and a brand new baby in the family that she's helping with. So Barb, if you're listening, thank you very much for helping me. Greg Gotchuk and Greg Farrow for our social media and technology today. And let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And thank you, Rick Urshel, you're here to sing. Sorry, Larry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
The word that's in all of our minds, especially today, is peace. The hope of peace for Ukraine. I'm sure all of you are disturbed over what is going on in the world with respect to that vital word, peace. So a moment of reflection on peace. Spend a few minutes every day envisioning what this world would look like in a very detailed way if we would be able to live peacefully with each other, making space for different views and free of hatred. Practice peace in all the simple ways. Smell the flowers as they emerge this spring. Take time to be peaceful. Do not allow yourself to get caught up by the horrible spectacles in our media. Watch them for a few minutes if you must, then go back to being peaceful. You will find yourself becoming the center of peace, not only for yourself, but also for all those who touch you. Amen.
thank you, Doug, and Jeff Hernandez will come up and introduce guests. Is it Jeff Douglas?
No, I think I'm disappointing everyone today.
I have a card. If you did not sign it, it's for Sharon Kish. We have missed her. She broke both of her ankles in December. I'm sorry to say that. So if you did not sign it, raise your hand.
Okay. I don't want to touch that. I might break it. Will Bob and Lisa please stand? Lisa Franco is the Director of Development and Housing Opportunity and is a guest of Bob Franco. Will everyone please say hi to Lisa?
Hi, Lisa.
Doug and Luke, please stand. Luke Ashelman is the President of Avro Development, and he is a guest of Doug Watkins. And everyone please say hi to Luke.
Hi.
That is all. Everyone have a great week.
Thank you. And Doug Watkins can come up and do our Sergeant at Arms.
I got volunteered.
You messed it all up.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
I do have a brother, Doug.
Wow. If you were upset by this, I was equally as upset because I walk in the door and they're like, "You're a sergeant." Doug filled in for me last week. I was gone on spring break, so now look at that. I'm returning the favor. So what that means is I'm very unprepared. I had nothing to say, but I've said something on the mic once or twice before, so I think I can handle this. So any good news? Good news. Thank you. At least one hand there.
Our Rotary Satellite met last week and are kicking off things again. We were in a little bit of a hiatus over the pandemic, but we wanted to invite you. We're going to be doing a mixer for our satellite club and this club to get to know each other better. We've got some new members who are getting involved, and it's going to be on Tuesday, April 5th at 5:30, and we'll be at Elements Wine Bar. So everyone is invited. We hope you can join us and get to know some of our club members.
Thank you very much. Any other good news? Oh,
Would you like the mic or?
yeah.
Well, I just wanted to thank all of you for my presidency. You all got me a wonderful gift certificate to a bed and breakfast in South Haven, Michigan. And my husband and I were able to get away last week and have a couple of days of R&R just by ourselves. So I wanted to thank you very much for that sweet gift. It meant a lot.
Presented a paper last Friday morning in the branding area. I received the best paper award. I'm at Brochure.
Thank you. Anyone else? Don't be bashful. Oh, this is it. I got it.
Yes.
You gotta call him out. Nice article. Babe. Andy. Nice article in the paper about your firm.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I appreciate that. Yeah, we've been very, very happy with 50 years of Valparaiso. A lot of great people in the office. Still maintain good future. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, for still reading the newspaper.
It's online.
Oh, it's online. Oh, okay. Didn't know that, but that's good that there's one person that still reads it. Any other good news? Oh, thank you.
I'll say this since Dr. McCall's here. So I volunteer coached the Valpo High Mock Trial Team, which is a forensic competition for quite a while now. The state competition was 2 weeks ago, and my team came 1 point away from going perfect 9-0 in all 3 rounds and making it into the top 4. So I think they finished 5th, although we never got the final numbers. And with that, my son's graduating, and I'm done coaching my trial.
Anyone else? One quick thing that I'll add to this, I know the fair seems like a long ways away, but every year we do sponsor a queen candidate for the fair queen contest. I've actually already had two young girls reach out to me about getting sponsored by Rotary, so I do have people, but what I wanted to ask anyone in here first is if there is anyone who's a relative or that you know that you would like Rotary to sponsor. We try to sponsor Rotary related people first, like last year. We had Ann Pressel, which was Deb's daughter. So if there's anyone else that would like to, just please have them reach out to me. If not, I do have as a candidate, which is always good because sometimes it can be a struggle, but want to make sure to ask for that. So the fair will be here before we know it, and we'll have a whole lot of fun at it. So I wish I had some fun facts for you guys today, but I was unprepared of those fun facts. So Deb, I'm sorry I ruined your Doug Day, but you can just call me Doug for the
Thanks, Doug.
Yep, you're welcome.
You did break it.
I didn't break it. I'm pretty sure I know how to use that, but I'll fix it.
Come on, Doug.
Yeah, Doug broke it. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that.
So we do have something fun we want to hear about. Dawn and I want to know, when Dawn, do you want to ask him when Dawn was giving Andrew the gift for having been president, you got this very nice fishing pole. So we want to hear what you thought with it. Your best one that got away story.
Fishing pole? It was like 90 years old.
Dawn!
No, it's not
Yeah,
actually. It's sitting as a Zoom background in my office now, so it gets used whenever I'm Zooming. I have never actually taken it fishing.
Okay, that means you didn't catch anything.
No.
You probably didn't catch anything before either, so don't do that.
Okay, general announcements. John Reed.
I know everybody's been waiting for the date for the announcement, the roadside pickup. So we got that secured. It's going to be Saturday morning, April 30th. And details to follow, but if anybody's driven by 49, you know there's a lot of stuff out there. And we need a big turnout to get that done pretty quickly. So there'll be more information coming soon.
All right. And we still have that Peace Fellowship. It'd be wonderful to find someone from Valparaiso who has some experience on medical missions, exchange programs, world peace, anything like that. And they can travel and study abroad, fully paid to earn a Peace Fellowship. So they need to have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree and be early in their career, 3 years or more out of college. So be thinking of somebody and ask them if they happen to be interested. I think that'd be a great opportunity. Rotary International gives 130 of these opportunities away each year. Anybody else have an announcement? Deb, good, come on in. So we're planning a day of serving. Rotary International recommends that we have a day of serving. Our district encourages that. What we're working on is with Boys and Girls Club, a children's leadership conference, of course, leadership conference in May. So our literacy committee is working on a session called Leaders Are Readers, and we are doing sessions on perseverance, self-esteem, all the things that go along with leadership. So if you'd like to help with that, start talking to me and we'll get you plugged in.
I'm going to throw one of these on each of your desks. I can go back. It's the updated brochure for the World Affairs Conference. And I need to talk to you because I need your help. This is a very, if you were here 2 weeks ago, you heard our speaker talking about human sex trafficking. It's a delicate subject. We have secured a speaker that you met 2 weeks ago who spoke to us as adults. She will speak to our students in a totally different manner from the way that she spoke to us 2 weeks ago. Here's why I need your help, because it's sensitive. It's hard to get the schools there. And I'm simply getting responses like, who was respectfully declined this year? I'm sending detailed letter back, asking for more information as to why. Is it the topic? Is it the date? Whatever. And I'm really and giving them information and even, I'm not trying to guilt them, but trying to express how really important in light of the COVID isolation that we've seen, the fact that we're on the I-94 corridor, it is here. And if you could have heard Shana talk a little more, you would have realized how prevalent it really is here. So I'm going to leave these, and I have extra ones if you want them. I need your help. If you've got a high school that you know an administrator in, you have student, I'm going to ask you to inquire, is your school going? Are you bringing students to our World Affairs Conference? If not, why are you not bringing them? And, just try and encourage it. If there's any questions that I can help in any way, but we have an all-star lineup with a panelist of 8, and then Shana, as you saw. So a lot of time and effort has gone into this particular conference, and I really would be very disappointed if we have 75 students there. So with that said, some of you have volunteered to help that day. If you have not, I asked for help, and I'm going to ask for some extra help. You asked for good news. Last time I got to share good news that Mark survived and was rescued from the brain bin. And I left that afternoon for Arizona with my entire family. And while I was gone and came home early, my brother died of a stroke. And on the same day, my mom had a stroke, and I'm her POA. I'm swamped right now. So if anybody can help me with this conference, it is very much appreciated.
Thank you, Debbie. Sorry about all you've been through too. Okay, right now I'm going to bring Judy Molasto up to introduce our guest speaker. Judy is one of our newest Rotary members. So happy to have her. And she is the Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education at the Valpo Community Schools. So thank you for introducing.
Yeah, thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Jim McCall today. Dr. McCall was appointed as Superintendent of Valparaiso Community Schools in September of 2020. He has been a public educator in Valparaiso for his 20+ year career. He started out as an English teacher and coach at VHS in 1999. Dr. McCall received his undergraduate degree in English from Wabash College. Usually there's a root somewhere. No, okay, let me see if I can get it out of some of these other things. A master's degree in English from Purdue University. He went on to earn his master's in education administration from Ball State and completed his doctoral work in educational leadership at Purdue University. Dr. McCall is a lifelong resident of Northwest Indiana. He and his wife Leslie have 2 children. Shannon, who graduated from VHS last year. She's currently completing her first year at Purdue. And Connor, who is a very active student at Valparaiso High School. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Dr. McCall.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's great to see so many familiar faces. Either I coached you, Brad, coached children, or just been able to interact with you. Really, it's 23 years now in Valparaiso, and I feel blessed every day that I get to serve Valparaiso. I owe much to this community, and I make no bones about it. Took me in as a fresh out of college high school English teacher, and really helped shape who I am today, as well as my children who have benefited from the Valparaiso Community School system as well, in regard to not only their education, but also their formation as people and all the great opportunities that we have as a community. And so what I'm here to talk to you a little bit about today is the upcoming ballot question regarding the continuation of the 2015 schools operating referendum at a reduced rate. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of the referendum, why we need one, a little school finance 101, but more importantly, we're going to talk about all the people and programs that the referendum funds, as well as how we will continue to use those funds to support the opportunities for the youth of this community. Because that's why we're all here. It is to serve the best interests of our children. And indeed, our vision at Valparaiso Community Schools is all about it. It's about serving the best interests of our children. And as we look to this May 3rd vote for the continuation of the referendum, which is the continuation of the 2015 referendum, I do want to take you through the causes of why we need the referendum. And it goes back to about 2008, 2009. Beginning in 2009, the property tax in Indiana was shifted from paying for the schools, the local schools, and it moved into the Indiana revenue system. So the state legislators saw that there was a property tax issue in 2009 and took a look at how the local schools were funded and said, we will go ahead and fund this through our state revenue, which meant the income taxes, the state sales tax, which they bumped up a percentage point in order to pay for it, as well as the gaming taxes at the time. Now, making it an economy-driven revenue stream is great when the economy is good, but when the economy is not so good, bad things happen. And once you know it, that year, the recession hit and state revenue dropped so precipitously that we had to cut 5% from our budget in December of that year. Makes sense if you're on a fiscal calendar, but schools aren't. Schools operate obviously from August to May. So in the middle of the spring, an adjustment had to be made. It was supposed to be temporary, but it hasn't been. So since 2009, 2010, we've lost about $250 to $300 million a year from state K-12 budgets. The second funding issue that occurred around that same time was the circuit breaker tax caps, which was a constitutional amendment in 2010, which, again, great for taxpayers, not so great for schools. It impacted K-12 schools by $250 million a year. And the way tax caps work, I know I'm working in a room with business folks. I know you know how it works. There's a 1% tax cap on homesteads, 2% on rental properties, and agriculture, and 3% on business. And so with the 1% cap on a homestead of 150,000, you have a $1,500 cap for taxes. But as we all know, there are many taxing entities. And in this situation, the town, township, library, schools, county, and even the airport are taxing entities. And in this hypothetical, if your tax bill comes out to $2,000 and you're capped for $1,500, what happens to the $500? Goes up in flames. It's credited back and it's removed from our budgets. And we actually, the schools have a budget line item called property tax cap losses. Statewide, it's been about $3 billion since 2010. And on the local level, we've lost about $13 million since 2010 due to the property tax caps. So I've been here since 1999 working in the schools. And during this time, I was an administrator at the high school, and I became Flint Lake Elementary principal in 2011. So in 2010, 2011, 2012, there was statewide budget cuts all along the way for schools because of this drop in revenue. And what that translates to in the schoolhouse is the loss of people and programs. So many schools throughout the state were cutting music programs, they're cutting arts programs. We dropped from 340 something teachers to 311 without dropping the number of students. So class sizes were rising. And probably most tragically, we also cut all of our aid tuitions in the spring of 2012 and hired them back at a dramatically reduced rate of health benefits. It impacted people who dedicated their lives to kids, and of course it impacted our kids due to the reduction in people who can help them, as well as programs. And this led to 2013-14 with a concerned community. We had cut as much as we could at that time. In fact, we were actually using colored paper for all of our worksheets and communications because it was cheaper to acquire than white paper. In an elementary school, we made it work. You know, hey, we got yellow day, we got red day, here we go. But you know, we were doing a lot more with less, and this just wasn't good enough for Valpo. The community said that we can do better because we are Valpo. And at that time, then Superintendent Rick Prakasha made a bold plan to the community, made a bold proposal, and said that not only can we solve our funding problem for people, but we can also solve our aging infrastructure. Again, thinking back to 2014, the newest building we had was Flint Lake Elementary, which was built in '93. The high school had been built in '72. All the other elementaries were post-World War II construction, and of course, Central Elementary was that 1930 behemoth that we had. We had an aging infrastructure, and we had this decrease in people and programs for our kids. And so, step one, let's ask the voters to reinvest in the schools with the facility referendum. We want to update 7 elementary schools and touch every square inch of the high school, as well as build the new elementary south of 30 to account for a growing population there. Secondly, we want to address the people and programs that have been lost through that systematic decrease in school revenue. We want to have an operating referendum, which is our people and program referendum, in order to restore the teaching positions, fund technology, and mental health workers in our schools. That spring of 2015, the community came together, a group of volunteers, in order to form the education committee and generate support for the upcoming referendum and make phone calls, canvass neighborhoods, talk to their neighbors, and get people to the polls. Because all the support in the world for schools is great, but without the votes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't go through. That is why this ballot question is so critical. And that spring, we won both referendum with an overwhelming majority. In fact, it was 64% pass rate for both the buildings referendum as well as the people and programs referendum. And as much work as that spring was, real work was just beginning. And it has been our world since 2015, going through such an extensive building project, but also expanding those people and programs. We built Kevlin Elementary south of 30, which now serves over 525 students. We dramatically renovated Central Elementary, as well as the 6 other elementary schools, expanding Cooks and Memorial to serve 50% more students. We also touched every square inch of the high school, in addition to doing a lot of things that you don't see, such as the HVAC, the technology upgrades, and all the other infrastructure that is so critical to run the schoolhouses. We serve now 6,400 students, K to 12, but more importantly, we give them exposure and opportunity for success in the future. The people and programs have made a difference for our kids. Our graduation rate is over 95%. It far exceeds the state average of 86%, and it's the highest graduation rate we've had in over a decade since they switched the calculation of graduation rate. Our iLearn students were #1 for passing English language arts in Northwest Indiana. We're #3 in math, and overall we're top 20 in this entire state. That rigorous preparation carries through to the high school, where our high school students can take a plethora of full credit classes, which translate into real college credits. Just in the last 3 years, we've had this program for many more than 3. Just in the last 3 years, we've had over 7,500 college credits earned by our students. And those account for real dollars savings for our families. Our business and community partners are critical to our success. We look forward to continue to expand that, both in our career center, which is just down the street across the railroad tracks. We own that building. That is a Valparaiso Community School building that services actually all students in Porter County. We expanded the manufacturing trades as well as the production studio in that building. We also have our standalone alternative school, which is what we call the Vale, and it's housed at the old Hayes Leonard campus. That is excellent for serving any student who needs an individualized learning program. And it's not just all at-risk students. It's students who might need an accelerated course of study so that they can move on to their next future. Students who are graduating to go to the military, students who are graduating to enroll in four-year college because they're ready to do it and just need an accelerated pace of play. The Vale is for that alternative learning experience. In fact, this is that group. The principal out there is Dr. Mike Bennigsen. If any of you know Mike, he's passionate about alternative education. This is a trip that they took to the Albanese Candy Factory as part of their work to learn pipeline. We are more than just academics, though. We service the whole student, and our investment in mental wellness from the 2015 referendum has been huge. We employ 13 social workers and 2 district-wide behaviorists, where before 2015, we were lucky to have 3 district-wide. We now have 1 in every building, 2 at the high school, and 1 at the Vale for our alternative school. And this was an investment made because life was changing. Life was just getting more difficult for our kids. But going into the pandemic, no one could see the benefit that that investment had made in order to maintain connections for kids and families, not just to each other, but also to services throughout the community. That investment is what we built upon with the Viking Puppy Project. And although the Puppy Project is completely funded by donations, it is a great example of what we do well in Valpo. We take what we have and we see what we can do to improve it. And through the community partnerships with the donations, we've been able to put therapy dogs in all of our schools as well. During the pandemic, just as a side note, that was actually one of the biggest questions we had was, what can we do with our dogs? Do we have to not allow anyone to pet them? Do we have to sanitize our hands before and after use? Many hours were actually spent figuring out the dogs. And in community engagement, we talk a lot about Valpo schools being a 4A school, not because of the size of classification we played in the basketball tournament, but because we do the 4As very well. Academics, arts, athletics, and altruism. And being in Valparaiso, the altruism part is one of the things that really makes this community go. It's not enough just to exist in Valpo and reap the benefits. You have to give back. You have to be a part of it. You have to be a participant of it. And with the altruism piece, we imbue it into our students from elementary and up. Look for the community engagement pieces, both on a local level, a national level, and even now an international level. How can we help our larger community? Our students might not have a lot of treasure, but they have some time and talents that they put to use. And whether it's beautifying the community, participating in the Valparaiso project, or even ringing bells and driving for the winter clothes drive or Lakeshore Paws, everyone can give back and be a part of this community. And that's what that being in Valpo is all about. The arts program, not only do we have award-winning music program and robust speech and debate program, but we're also dramatically increasing our instructional time in music at the middle school level. Before the referendum, students were who were in band, choir, and orchestra received instruction 2 or 3 days a week and split time with their advisory to do it. Now they receive instruction 5 days a week, and the high school music program has reaped the benefits. Miguel Rosario, our director of band, says that the band's now performing at a higher level because of that investment that we've made at the middle school. And we're looking to take it down in the 4th grade soon. The reason why we talk about people and programs so much is about student achievement. We know that students who are engaged have higher GPAs, they have higher self-worth, better mental health, better relationships with others, all of those soft skills that you look for when thinking about employees. But more importantly, they become more productive members of society. That's our original purpose as community schools, is to create an engaged and educated citizenry. And going about the way we have with that people and programs, we've been able to have a higher engaged student producing a higher engaged citizen. Our goal is for them to make an impact no matter where they land. And of course, come back to Valpo because it's a great place to raise your kids. So that's the great part. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about school finance, the numbers part. Schools are made up with 3 major funds. There's an education fund. That's the people classroom budget. That is funded by those state dollars that we had talked about earlier on a per pupil basis. So the number of students you have, you get a certain dollar per student. That's the state revenue you get. And 86% of those dollars go into the education fund to fund the classroom expenses. Teachers, aides, principal, the salary benefits that it takes to run the classrooms. The remaining 14%, along with a portion of the property taxes that still exist, go into the operations fund. That is the building and operations of the schoolhouse. All those other expenses, maintenance, food service, transportation, the electric bill, utilities, insurance, everything else it takes to be a school. These buckets can't mix. School finance, it's not like home finance where you can move from one to another. It is regulated with what you can spend. We have the education fund, we have the operations fund. And then we also have the debt service fund because we are obligated to pay our debt. As you pay down your debt, then you reinvest that back into the schools through renovations or expansions, depending on what your schoolhouse needs. So I'm going to focus on the blue, the state basic grant for these. As I said before, this is paid out by the state. Here is a chart showing the state basic dollars per student since 2010. It's gone up by an average of 1.4% each year since 2010, with the bulk of the increases coming just in the last 2 years. If the state had kept pace with inflation, Valparaiso Schools would have received an additional $1.1 million last year, but it has unfortunately lagged behind. Now, I'm going to go through, I want to make sure I'm respectful of time. Am I good?
10 minutes.
All right, we can roll. I'm going to go through, this is a chart of the 371 schools in Indiana plotted by state support per student for fiscal year 2021. The state average is $6,444. This is a grouping of local schools. Crown Point is about 5,900. Doolin is at $6,004. And all the way up at the top is Gary Schools, funded at just over $7,700 per student. And as you can discern from this graph, there's a complexity formula on that per student funding. So the more poverty, the more transients, the more special ed students you have, you're funded at a higher rate than not. So taking a look at this, I would surmise that you will guess where Valpo is. Valpo is well below average at $6,013 per student. And in fact, had we just been considered an average funded school, we would have been provided with an additional $2.74 million in funding. One of the things to take note is every school that is on this chart also has an operating referendum. And when we take a look at the rates, you'll notice that River Forest actually leads the state in operating referendum rate at $1.19 per $100 of assessed valuation. Munster is there at just under 42 cents. Duneland is there at 22 cents, and all the way over to the right is Valparaiso at 0.2042 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. But that's a 2015 number. What we are proposing for our taxpayers on how to fully invest and continue programming is a dramatic reduction in the max tax rate that we can apply. 27% reduction down to 0.1495. And we will continue to be able to invest in our youth for the years to come. And just going through everything that we've invested, we created a STEM class for all K-5 students. We've expanded STEM classes for our 6 to 12, as well as world language and career and technical education. We've increased staff at elementary, middle, and high school. We have an additional guidance counselor and dean of students at the high school. We have a communications coordinator. We've also employed a 1% retention stipend for all employees. It's more difficult to recruit and retain student teachers in education, as well as our social emotional learning department with those 13 social workers, the 2 district behaviorists, our director of social emotional learning, as well as our student advocate. Moving forward, we're going to continue to fund those critical areas, managing class sizes, managing those essential health and safety initiatives, retaining teachers and staff, and funding academically and education-related programs. Again, the STEM programming, the CTE, the alternative school, all will be funded out of this referendum moving forward. And what is that overall tax rate going to look like? It's going to be the lowest tax rate overall since before the referendum began. People have asked, well, why don't you just keep the tax rate? Why are you lowering it? Wouldn't more money be better? And as I've been told, that's not what Valpo is about. We ask for what we need in order to service our kids. To do anything else would be gouging. That's not what we do. It's a social contract of responsibility that we have. As you can even see, in the 3 out of the previous 7 years of the referendum, only 3 times did we take the maximum tax rate, because those were the 3 years that we needed it from our budget perspective. This past year, it's only been at 0.1822. But it takes more than just support, it takes action. So when people stepped in the ballot box 7 years ago, this is what the ballot question looks like. For the 7 years, impose a property tax increase of 0.2042 for the purpose of maintaining educational services and restoring teaching positions. Pretty straightforward. In May, people are going to see this ballot question. This is what the legally required component is now. Anyone want to read all of it? It's for 8 years now. The underlying part is what we can control. For the purpose of managing class sizes and essential health and safety initiatives, retaining teachers and staff, funding academic and education-related programs, and changing the maximum operating referendum tax levy fund rate from 0.2042 to 0.1495 per $100 of assessed valuation. Now, it takes a close reading of the last two sentences to know what it says. And when you take a look at it and you see that increased property tax paid by 23.4%, you might jump to the conclusion that your taxes were increased by 23% back in 2015. That's not what it says. It's the property taxes paid to the school district jumped from for 23% on average. The overall tax bill increased by about 9.4% back in 2015. And yes, to the schools on average about 23%, but we are just one of 6 taxing entities. So it's good to keep all of that in mind. I'm just going to go through real quick here the tax rate calculation. Again, this is net assessed value, not gross assessed. So everyone gets 45% homestead deduction, 35% supplemental deduction. 80% of people have a mortgage, so they get an extra $3,000. And the overall tax rate would then be, tax impact would be $48.96 per year, or $4.08 per month. The median assessed value home in Center Township is $237,500. So that impact would be about $15.21 per month. But when compared to the 2015 referendum, this is actually not a tax increase. It will actually decrease taxes on the median assessed valuation by almost $67. Again, we're doing all of this with the lowest tax rate in the last 8 years. And we'll be able to fund everything that we're doing for kids and continue that on for the next 8 years. But it takes more than support, it takes action. And you can do many different courses of action. Talk to your neighbors, have a yard sign, make phone calls, but the most important action is vote. Vote yes for the schools, vote yes for Valpo, vote yes for our kids. So I'm respectful of your time. I know it's 1 o'clock. I will hang out afterward if anyone has any specific questions. And thank you again for your time. Cheers.
Thank you so much for that excellent presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll also be donating a children's book to the local library in honor of your speaking for us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please feel free to stay, ask questions. Hate to cut this off. Any announcements?
Yeah, can I say one thing?
Sure.
I mean, just because I get so fired up and passionate about this. Several of us serve on the committee with Jim, and I just get chills when I think about what our teachers and mental health professionals do for our kids. So here's the deal. We need your help. There are sheets in the middle of each table. If we could get 3 yard signs per table from today's meeting, it would go a huge, huge way in spreading the word about this upcoming vote. I'm willing to put $20 in just to make this announcement. Again, before you leave, if you're willing to just put a yard sign in your yard or in front of your business, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Deb. I'm sorry.
And there will be volunteers to put the sign in your yard, and we'll take it out of your yard after the election.
Is that worth another 20?
No.
He's a Jayhawk. What do you expect?
Wait till the Jayhawks win. I'll do more than 20.
Okay, we have a leadership scholarship selection committee meeting right after this meeting. I want to give gratitude for all those working on these scholarships. There are, I don't know, Lots of applications altogether. How many applications for all the scholarships? Barb, did you count? Like 40-ish?
Yeah.
So there are people behind the scenes going through every one of these applications individually. Without committees like this, Rotary doesn't do everything they do. And also the Queen candidates, that takes help, that takes time. That's why we encourage all the new members to get signed up for a committee. Okay, let's stand and close. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And is it fun?
I know it.